Good morning, complete men. Welcome back to another episode. Today, I'm going to be discussing how to deal with an employee that is not performing at their optimal level. If you're just tuning into this podcast, we talk about all things when it comes to being a man. That's business, that's wealth, that's performance, that's relationships. Everything is on the plate here when it comes to the Mind Shop podcast. Ultimately, it's to serve you, give you value every single episode that you can actually implement. And most of our listeners are business professionals. They're either CEOs, they're business owners, they're entrepreneurs, or senior level executives, or even mid-management. And they are dealing with people. You are out there dealing with employees. And how do you deal with an employee that is really not doing what they should be doing or performing at that optimal level? It's really important to be able to tackle this effectively because there is a huge misconception out there in the workforce. I'm telling you, this is one of the biggest challenges, or I'm also going to explain the difference between challenges and hindrances, but this is one of the biggest, I'm going to say problems in the business world is that leadership doesn't fully understand how people work, and therefore they believe that people are not coming to work to perform at their best. Majority of people do want to perform at their best. Majority of people do want to feel like they add value to the organization. Majority of people don't want to be lazy at work or slack off. If they are, there's another reason for it. Perhaps the job is not challenging enough for them. Perhaps it's boring for them. And that's another topic for another episode that we can discuss. But performance is very, very important. Most people, based on our research and experience, are performing, 9 out of 10 people are performing between 50 to 70% of their potential. I believe it's actually significantly lower, but we've been very conservative in our research here. So what does this mean? This means that a small jump in performance, even by 10%, can significantly improve someone's performance and ultimately the output that you get in your business and the revenues that you are generating. So when it comes to someone's performance, if they are not performing at that level, you have to identify what is hindering them from achieving what they should be achieving and performing at that level. And the difference between a hindrance and a challenge is this. Everybody should be up for a challenge. That's actually one of the core aspects of performance. People who are not challenged don't perform at that optimal level. A challenge is good. A hindrance is not good because it actually slows down performance or stops it completely. And here's the difference. A challenge is, let's just say you have an employee that has their bachelor's of science, and you need them to learn new skills because they didn't learn that in university. So you have to get them to do some training. But that training is within their grasp of knowledge. It's not too far-fetched for them to learn that stuff. That's a challenge. It's outside their comfort zone, but they're still able to do it. A hindrance is if you're expecting them to have PhD level training or experience, and you all of a sudden take them from a bachelor's level and say, you need to learn this PhD stuff immediately. That's a hindrance because they might get overwhelmed. So you need to, instead of making it a hindrance, you need to make it a challenge and maybe break that training program or that knowledge breakdown into small steps so they can actually get there. So they feel like it's a challenge and not a hindrance. Hindrances are also things like not having the right tools, not having the right resources to do their jobs. So what you need to identify in collaboration with your employees is what is actually a hindrance for them versus a challenge. And this is very confusing for a lot of people because they don't understand the difference between the two. If you can challenge your employees, which is completely valid, and remove their hindrances, you're going to have an employee that actually performs at a significantly better level. That's what you need to identify. And with hindrances, what we're also going to do, I'm going to do a completely different episode about this, but there sometimes an overlap. There's an overlap between challenges and hindrances, and you don't know how to identify and you don't know how to deal with this person because they're just constantly not performing at that level and it's creating chaos. We'll talk about that in the next episode. But your mind shop for today is select an employee that is not performing at their optimal level. I'm sure you have one, if not many, that come to mind. Write that person's name down. bring them into the office today. Take a sheet of paper, draw a line right down the middle. On one side, write down challenge. On the left side, on the right hand, write down hindrance. And in a collaborative effort with that employee, identify what is actually a challenge for them, which is valid, and what is actually a hindrance, which is something you as a leader need to remove or identify and help them turn that hindrance into a challenge. Or maybe it's something that you need to get rid of completely and remove that roadblock. So that's what you need to do, your mind shop. Bring in that employee, do this chart, identify what is a challenge versus a hindrance, and you're going to find out what is actually stopping this employee from performing at their best. I hope this helps, and I wish you the very best. Take care. Bye-bye.